Good morning and good afternoon. The demo and presentation will be given in a few minutes. Some of you are still registering and entering the webinar, so let's give them 1 minute and then we'll get started. Thank you, everybody. Hello, everybody. Again, welcome to the presentation and a small demonstration of our total material solutions. Today will be only 45 minutes, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than normal. So I'm going to get right started. Before we do, can somebody just write in the chat functionality if they can hear me and see my screen? That would be wonderful. So please, if anybody can quickly write to me in the chat function if they can hear me and see my screen. Thank you. Oh, fantastic. Getting a nice amount of answers to that. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. So my name is Tim Profite. I'm a key account manager at Keto Metals, and today we'll be showing you our total materials solution, our materials database. Before we do that, just to show you a little bit info about our team. So our headquarters is in Zurich in Switzerland, but our development office, where all our account managers are, where our IT department and all our engineers are, and our project managers are, we're all located in Belgrade in Serbia. We also have almost customers in over 100 countries in the world. So it's quite a lot of countries where you'll be able to be, some of the companies are using total Materia. And you can also see this little bit, this timeline. And in more than 20 years ago, we started with Keto Metals, and we only had 13,000 ferroalloys on our database. And at this moment in 2022, we have almost over 700,000 materials. Ferroalloys, non-ferroalloys, advanced properties, nonlinear data, also all non-metallic materials, compositions, polymers, fibers, all this type of information you'll be able to find on our database. We have two solutions, and today I'll be only focusing on our total material solution. So on the left-hand side, you can see a total Materia. You can find here 80 standard organizations from all around the world. These 80 standard organizations are providing us with over 37,000 standards, and all this standards and also other proprietary data is providing us with those 700,000 materials, which is a lot of information coming from the sources out there, from the primary sources. However, very fast, we also have another solution called the Total Materia Integrator. This is our data management solution, and you'll be able to insert all your own private information, your legacy data, your test information, your approved materials. You'll be able to add inside our data management system. You can also, of course, make other developments inside it, which we'll do, of course, for you. We will insert also, if you want, all this information also for you. However, you can also control all the users inside the integrator as well, what they're allowed to see, what they're allowed to use, if they're only allowed to see internal materials, but also if they're allowed to see maybe information coming from Total Materia, all the referenced information that we have. What's also really nice about this is you can also integrate all your private information and reference data inside a PLM system, in your PLM system, from where you can take all the approved materials and put them directly inside your tools as well, which you are using. All right, we are a SaaS solutions, which means that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can log in to our database on your phone, on your tablet, on your iPad, on your computer, wherever you are. You will get your own login details, and you'll be able to enter into the database. We also have 26 languages, and when you tell us to deploy it, we can do this literally in a few minutes time as well. So what are the current problems that can be avoided with Total Materia? So maybe just to give you an example, a lot of engineers out there are trying to find material information from Google. First of all, you have no idea where this information is coming from. There's no reference to that data. Is this the newest information out there? Is this information coming from reliable standards? Are those values that you're going to use correct? You have no idea. So this is a big problem. And if you use these information and you put them into your simulation tools, and there's something that's incorrect, how much money would that in time cost the organization? So it is very important to have high quality information, try to find equivalent materials coming directly from those standards, even trying to find, to see if a material is compliant to a certain regulation, to know that that material that you're using is compliant according, for example, to ROS or REACH or GADSEL. Also, all the information that we have on Total Materia is coming from a reliable source. Those standards, we purchase information directly from the standard organizations and put this onto the database. Because of that, yes, we can save the organization a lot of money. Yes, we can save you a lot of time, and saving time means saving money. And because, again, we get all this information from those reliable sources, this will improve the quality immensely of your material information that you are using. So we have a lot of different kinds of information that comes from different kinds of data sets on our solution. First of all, I'll just tell this very briefly. Total metals, all the ferroalloys, non-ferroalloys, most of this information is coming from standards, but a small percentage is coming from producer datasheets. The producer datasheets are actually adding those missing gaps of information that the standard is not providing, and they also provide us with other information, for example, metallography data, magnetic data, and some of the heat treatment diagrams as well. Polyplus, all the non-metallic materials that we have, polymers, thermoplast, thermosets, rubbers, maybe some other groups of materials from polymers, maybe PA66 or big data, maybe some fibers, maybe some composites. All this information you'll be able to find here in Polyplus. And this is a little bit upside down world, because 80% is coming from producer data sheets and only 20% is coming from standards. This is because the non-metallic world hasn't yet been fully standardized as the metallic world. You probably already know this. Compliance information, again, regulations. It is so important that those organizations are following those regulations around the world. You need to know if a material or a substance is compliant according to, for example, ROS, REACH, or GADSEL, or some water contact, or maybe some right to know lists. This is very important. Tracker module, very easy. You'll see here the history of a material and a standard. So what is the changes that this material has had in the last 10, 20, or even 30 years, you'll be able to see in our tracker module. Enviro, corrosion data for polymers and metals, weatherability data for polymers, aging and irradiation data, Data Plus, tribology data, welding and joints for welding, brazing, adhesion data, coatings data, also tolerances and lubricants data you'll also be able to find here. And then very important for the design community out there, all the advanced properties and non-linear data, formability data, stress strain curves, fractured mechanics, creep data. This is information we have to purchase from around the world. We have around 3,000 sources that provide us with this information. Our engineers, when they get this, they check this, of course, and then once it has been checked, it gets put on to the database. So this is just a slide to just to prove to you how many standard organizations we have on the database. 37,000 standards coming from 80 standard organizations from around the world. And because we have so many standards, yes, with so many coming from those standard organizations, we will really be able to easily find that equivalent or alternative material that you might be looking for around the world. Instead of looking in your books and searching for that equivalent material for hours at end, you can literally log into the database, and in just a few seconds, you will find that equivalent material that you want to use, and maybe to compare this with other equivalent materials as well. Again, a lot of producer date sheets. These are just a few of the many that we have. But again, these producer date sheets are giving us a lot of non-metallic material information, and they provide us also with those missing gaps of metallic information that is missing from those standards. So the biggest question is, of course, can you trust Total Materia? So absolutely. We are the only database that is getting information directly from the standards. Most of our competitors all get their information from third and fourth parties. We are also updating our database every month of the year. So every time there's a new information coming out or a new standard, revised, renewed standard coming out, we immediately put the newest information available on to Total Materia. If there is a standard or information that is missing and which you need, you simply contact us saying we need this material information coming from this standard which you don't have. Please can you get it for us, and we will get this information for you. Of course, we are also the only ones that are ISO certified. So we have quite a lot actually, 9001, 27001, 27701, and now also since a few months now the very code for continuous certification of codes and practices as well. So that went rather fast. Just understand, I'm going to do this very fast today because we only have a few more minutes, 40 more minutes left. So if you want to do a private demo or a training or some more information regarding Total Materia, please write down in the chat functionality, and we will contact you after this demo, and then we can talk about your challenges, your material challenges, and how Total Materia can try to resolve them. All right, I'm going to the database. So I've already logged in to save a little bit of time, but at the top here, you can already see all these different kinds of data sets and functionalities that we have on the database. For our American users, we also have imperial units. So if you want, you can switch over from metric to imperial units if you wish. You can, of course, also change your languages. So we have quite a lot of languages. We do not have every single language, but we do have hopefully most of the ones that are mostly needed. And then let's start with the total search. Total search is only for metals and non-metallic materials, and it has a few functionalities: the quick search, advanced search, standard list, and the material discovery. Quick search is only for material designations. However, some of the users are thinking this is a Google search. So please, this is not a Google search. This quick search is only meant for material designations. If you're looking for a group of material, please use the filter for this. So you can write here, for example, a steel or a aluminium. If you want a group of materials with aluminium, you can click on aluminium. If you're looking for a polymer, maybe the PA66, not a problem, write down PA66 and you'll find all the PA66s that we have. If you're looking even for a rubber material, a group of lists with all the rubbers that we have, not a problem, just write down rubber and you'll see here all the different kinds of rubbers that we have as well. What you can also do is multi-select the standards. So here you can find all those 80 standard organizations that we have, and then you can multi-select any standard that you are in need of. Maybe the EN standard from Europe, maybe a United States standard from the AA standard organization or the ASTM standard organization. Maybe you want a Indian standard, not a problem. You can write down Indian and you'll be able to find that Indian ES standard from India as well. So this is all possible. And then you can press on search and find that list of materials or that material that you are looking for. If you're looking for a standard, please go to our standard list. Here you'll be able to fill in the standard number, the ICS number, standard description. You can even click on the, for example, let's try the British Standard Organization, and just to see how many standards that we have from there, when you click on this, you'll be able to see that we have over almost 2,400 standards just coming from the BS Standard Organization. And then you can see here the standard, the description of the standard, the latest versions, and also the ICS numbers, and also how many materials are being defined by the standard, or what are the dimensions that this standard is providing, what is the coatings information that this standard is providing, and this is all what you'll be able to see here as well. You can also see the most oldest information standards on a database, and also the newest information on the database as well. So we literally have standards from the 1928. Yes, from the BS Standard Organization. This is just an example. And you can see that this standard has been withdrawn. However, you can still find some information on a database regarding this standard. This is very important because a lot of organizations are still using those really, really old materials. And then one day they might find an alternative for that material, which then they can do through our solution. You can also see when a standard has been reconfirmed, or when a standard has been replaced by a different standard. So this is all possible within our solution. All right, so I'm going to quickly go to material 304, and I'm not going to add anything else to the filter, maybe just a group of materials. Let's add stainless and heat resisting steels. So I only want the designation 304 with the classification stainless and heat resisting steels. And I'm going to press on search. So now the database has found over 80 materials with this designation 304. And now this comes a kind of a tip and trick. So even before you click on the materials to see their conditions and their properties and their references, you can already click on this plus button on the left-hand side and already start adding these properties inside this result list. You can even see which of these properties, for example, have stress strain curves, which of these properties, for example, have corrosion information. So we can click on corrosion, and you can add as many columns as you like. So you can see here the tensile strength, yield strength, stress strain curves, which of these materials have stress strain curves, and which of these materials have corrosion information. And then you can even filter them from maximum to minimum values, from minimum to maximum values, or back to how it was. You can even put all these materials that have stress strain diagrams all together, and then see which ones are the ones that you want to take a closer look at. All right, I'm going to choose this material 304 from the AISI standard organization. And when I press on this, you'll be able to see here the basic information, also the indicative price. So we also provide now indicative prices on Total Materia. So not only will you be able to find the most equivalent material, but also the most cheapest material available around the world. Then we have two kinds of views, the synthetic view and the details view. Synthetic view is the minimum maximum values of the properties that this reference is providing us, but we can also put into details view. And once you put it onto details view, you can see in the middle all the references where we got this information from. So you can see official information coming from the standards, but all the way down, you can also see other sources as well, proprietary sources, supplier data sheets as well. And then you can use the condition selector to select the condition that you need. You can choose the form, the heat treatment, the dimensions, even the properties. You can press on OK, and then the conditions will be filtered out. And then you'll be able to see the information that you are in need of. And then once you choose the conditions, you can then scroll down and see those conditions here, the references where we got this information from, and here all those properties that that reference is providing. Also, many of our materials and properties and conditions have also diagrams. You can see all three of these properties have diagrams. So I can just click on it, and this time I'll be able to see the tensile strength versus the temperature. And then you can hover with your mouse over the curve and see those temperatures and tensile values change according to where you go with your mouse. Of course, you can also crop to make it a little bit go bigger. to see those values a little bit more in detail, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can even put a toggle spike on the curve to help you along. Then some other tips and tricks, very fast. This golden star means you can add this material to your favorite material list. Yes, when it's gray, it's not. When it's gold, it's yes. And then on the right-hand side, we also have other functionalities. First of all, what you can do is add any material from Total Materia, any list of materials to our list builder, yes? And from our list builder, you can start to analyze, compare all the materials that you have inside this list. You can also add any content from Total Materia, your chemical composition, your properties, your conditions, your curves, stress strain diagrams, all this information, also some microstructure, metallography information, you can also put inside this report as well. And then after you make this report, you can make this into a PDF, or you can even share this report by just forwarding everybody a link as well. I will show you this on a later stage, how this will look like. And also very important is you can export any conditions and their values and temperatures onto your simulation tool or CAD tool. So when I press to export to CAX, I'll be able to select any solver from here. So very important, the Abacus, ANSYS, Autodesk, CATIA, OptiStruct, Creo, all these, also SolidWorks, any simulation tool that you're using or CAD tool that you're using, you can export automatically all the information directly onto your tool that you're using. If you don't have any of these tools, this is understandable. A lot of engineers don't have these tools. What you can do is also simply forward all the information onto a Excel sheet. So for example, you can press on here on some conditions, let's say elongation, strain, tensile strength, and maybe some stress strain diagrams. I can press on next step, and now we can choose the condition and the temperature and the values which I want to forward to my tool or to my Excel sheet. And then I can choose here one of the conditions. Once I've chosen the condition, I can then click on the temperature and then forward this to that Excel sheet. Next step, same regarding elongation versus strain. You can choose the condition that you need. And then once you've chosen the condition, you can choose again the temperatures and the values. Next step, stress strain diagram, choose the condition that you need, scroll down, and then add those temperatures that you need to forward. Next step, you can then review the export, see if everything that you took is correct, and if you maybe want to change something. And then once everything is correct, you can press export, and then you can open it up. And then this is how it will look like on an Excel sheet. However, we also have all the formats for those tools, CAD tools and simulation tools as well. So you can see material 304 from the standard AISI with all these properties that I've added, and also some stress strain multi-point table here as well. All right. Please, if you have any questions at all, please write down in the chat functionality. After the demo, I will be looking at all the questions together with my colleagues and try and answer all of your questions as soon as possible. All right, of course, we also have physical properties. It looks exactly the same as mechanical properties, but then for physical properties, we also have our cross-referencing table where you can find an equivalent material. I will show you this, of course, as well, a little bit later though. We also have our tracker where you'll be able to see all the changes that this material has had in the last few years. So you can see that this material 304 has been actually updated this year in January. So you can see exactly those references and conditions and properties that this material which has been changed. You can of course change the updates. So if you want to see what the changes are, for example, in 2017 in March, you can click on that and then you can see all the data which has been inserted or changed in that time period. Yes, very important. Then on the right-hand side, we also have other types of information. First of all, here, the material description. Where do we get this information from? What are the comments which the standard is providing us? And what are the applications? Yes. Also, you'll be able to see here if a material has been, if a reference has been withdrawn, revised, or renewed. Very important is also the chemical composition, When you press on chemical composition, you can then see the references, choose the reference that you need, and then underneath there, the chemical composition. If you click here on the element, you will go to the substance level of the element and see if this element is compliant according to certain regulations. So this is also possible. We have some heat treatment information, metallography data as well. Very briefly, you can choose the condition which you want to see, and then once you've chosen the condition, you can click on the microstructure, see the general information, and of course everything that we have on the database has a reference, including also the microstructures. Also advanced properties, all they're coming from the extended range data set. So here, all the stress strain curves that we have, references in the middle. You can choose the heat treatment on the right, or the form, or this strain rate. Underneath, you can see that we have 9 conditions. You can click on one of the conditions, and then underneath here, the stress strain diagram, which you can upload to your tools if needed. Formability data as well. More importantly, the fatigue data. We have strain life parameters and stress life parameters, and then you'll be able to see again the references in the middle, and then underneath here you can see that we have 10 conditions. When you click on one of the conditions, you can see here the SN curve with some further conditions here at the top. Corrosion data plus all the joints data, dimensions and tribology data. In the Enviro module, corrosion data, aging data, and irradiation and data as well. Please, if you want to go into more detail, send me a mail or write something on the chat function, and we'll be more than happy to go into more details regarding these other types of information. However, let's press now on the cross-referencing part of the database. How to find an equivalent material, yes? So this material 304 has over 2,000 equivalents, yes? That's quite a lot. 52 of those are identical according to the standard organization. 37 of those are official according to the standard organization. We have a whole bunch that are 100% composition. We have over 700 that is coming from other sources. Then we have our implicit and our smart cross to find a similar material, not an equivalent, but a similar material. So the 2 most important tabs where you can find an equivalent material are identical and official, which comes, the equivalence coming from the standards. However, the standards does not always provide you with that chemical, with that equivalent material that you need. So through other sources, we try and help you and point you into the right direction. So let's try and find an equivalent material coming from, for example, the Chinese GB standard. So when I press on GB from China, you can see that we have 40 materials that are equivalent to this material 304. And you can see that a whole bunch of them, 9 of them, are coming directly from the standard organization. And we have a whole bunch of them coming from other sources, and even a few that are coming from implicit. And even before you try and compare these materials, you can again click on this plus button and already start adding some properties to this table. Here we go, and see what those values are. You can also compare all these materials one by one. So to do that, you just press on these arrows on the right-hand side, and you can compare this AISI standard with the GB standard with these 2 materials. You can see here the chemical composition. You can of course also change the reference and condition accordingly to what you need. You can also, when you scroll down, you can see here the mechanical properties in synthetic view or in detailed view, and you can even click on physical properties as well and see all the physical properties that these 2 materials have to compare and see if this is the equivalent material that you would like to use. And you can even again see here the indicative price again. So not only you'll be able to find an equivalent material, but also the cheapest material available. And all these comparison views that you are making, you can forward to your PDF file. So everything that you're forwarding, you can print to PDF. So it's not a problem. And you can of course also add all these comparison views to your reports that you're making inside the material console. Not only you can compare 1-to-1, but you can compare up to 100 materials at the same time. To do that, I'm going to add this main material, the 304, to a list of materials. And then I'm going to add all of these other 40 materials also to my list of materials. Yes, so I'm going to add them to my list. I'm going to click on here, and here is my list of materials. Yes, all the materials, all these 40 materials. This list of materials, yes, you can save and reuse, forward to your colleagues, and do whatever you want with it. So for example, I can write here my name, Tim's material list part 2, for example. I wrote material wrong, of course. Here we go. And you can write here test 1, 2, 3, whatever you want in the description. And then you can save this list and maybe reuse it or share it, and you'll be able to find this in my console. I will show you later where you'll be able to find this. And then once you have all these materials, yes, you can again add those columns with those properties if you wish. But what you can also do is click on all these properties, all these materials, and then forward them to different parts of the database. So if you want to narrow down the search, yes, you can forward it to the advanced search to add some criteria, maybe some mechanical and physical properties to narrow down the result. If you need some fatigue data, you can forward all these materials to the fatigue parts of the database and find those materials with fatigue data that have those criteria that you are in need of. And of course, some other functionalities and data sets you can also forward it to. However, what I want to do is start comparing these materials. So what you can do is press on the comparison view button, and then you can compare 3 ways: through materials, through their properties, and through analytics. So let me press on the first one, and now what you'll be able to see is all these 41 materials you'll be able to see next to each other. And then you can scroll down, you can see here all the chemical compositions. You can of course change the standard if you wish, the condition if you wish. You can see here the mechanical properties which you can compare, and all the way down also the physical properties if that standard is providing you with physical properties. And then what you can do is you can pin down those materials which you want to keep on the screen. So I'm going to pin down these 2 materials, and then you can scroll to the right or to the left to compare all these other materials as well, and analyze which would be the one that you want to use as an equivalent material. Once you've pinned down those materials that you are most interested in, you can then forward this again to your report, or you can simply again press on PDF, and you'll be able to save this as a PDF file. So here's the material 304 with these 2 Chinese equivalent materials. You can of course see the references where we got this information from, the chemical composition, the mechanical properties, and underneath also the physical properties as well. All right, I'm going to go back. Also, maybe a tip and trick for today is you also have these 3 buttons here where you can see all previously visited pages. So you just need to click on the previously visited pages to go back to the place where you want to go. All right, we also have 2 other ways to compare materials. You can also compare through properties. So once you press on properties, you can literally select the properties that you want to see. For example, yield strength. For example, elongation strain. For example, let's take tensile strength. And you can take as many properties as you want and add them to your comparison view. Once you press on submit, you'll be able to then see elongation strain versus the materials. Yes, and then you can see the approx values, but also the minimum and maximum values of each of these materials. You can of course change it into tensile strength. You can change it into yield strength, and any property that you want. You can even make it a radar chart to get the full picture of each of these materials. So you can see when you hover with your mouse, you can see the tensile versus the yield versus the elongation strain. And you can hover with your mouse over each of these materials to see each of their full values. All right, there's one more way to compare materials, and that is through our comparison view analytics, but I'm going to show you this comparison view in another way. So I'm going to actually delete all these lists of materials, and I'm going to go to total search, and I'll quickly want to show you our advanced search to select a material that you might be in need of. So when I press on advanced search, this is a place for the material selections. Yes, so here you can choose here the group of materials, you can choose here the standards, even add maybe a text search, and then add some mechanical and physical properties to find a list of results, a list of materials that you might be interested in for a certain project. So, for example, when I choose on material groups, I can then choose again all these different kinds of material groups. However, if I choose polymers, for example, the database will also add some other filters. For example, reinforcement. So you can add reinforcement to the polymer group of materials. You can also see if you only want biodegradable data, bio-based or recyclable data. You can even see if it's a flame retardant, yes or no. But this is also what you'll be able to add right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose ferroalloys and choose structural, constructional steels. And I'm going to choose some mechanical properties, for example, tensile strength, for example, yield strength first, 300 megapascal. I can add maybe tensile strength, make this 600. I can add maybe impact if I can find it. Here we go. Make this 40 joule. You can of course also change the units, change the types. You can also add maximum values and also temperatures if you want in Celsius, Fahrenheit, or even in Kelvin if you wish. I'm also going to add some physical properties, for example, the modulus of elasticity. Here we go. And we can make this, for example, 190. And we can also maybe add one more thing. Let's add a standard, for example, the German DIN standard. And I'm going to add all this criteria to my advanced search. Once I've added all the criteria, if you wish, I can even change some of the values, but I will keep them like this and press on search. So now the database is looking at all those materials that we have on the database and look which ones have this criteria that I have added to the advanced search. This takes a few seconds because it's looking at all the materials that we have, but hopefully in a few seconds, here we go, it has found those materials. So the database has found 65 materials with this criteria. And these materials, again, you can see their tensile, yield strength, which one have stress strain, which one have corrosion information. You'll be able to see immediately which kind of information each of these materials have. And then again, I can take all of these materials, add them to my list builder, go to my list builder. Here are all my materials, and this time I can then compare if I want through our analytics. And then through our analytics, you can then literally select the properties that you want to see inside a diagram. So I can select a property, for example, any property that I want. But what's also quite interesting is you can also add again indicative price. So not just to find the most equivalent material or the material that you need, but you can also find the most cheapest material as well again. But I'm going to choose, for example, yield strength versus elongation strain. You can of course also add all the temperatures as well. And then you can also add, if you want it to be a logarithm or even a border limit line as well. And I'm just going to press on show results. And now you'll be able to see the elongation versus the yield strength with all those 65 materials that I've added to this comparison view. You can hover with your mouse over each of the materials and see their yield strength versus elongation with their values. I can even crop the place that I want to see a little bit bigger. So if I crop just this place, I then will be able to see those materials in this part of the diagram a little bit closer. I can even reset it again. I can even put it as a rectangle, but it will be a little bit messy now, but then you will understand how it will look like. So you can see again all these full minimum values of each of these materials. And what's really nice is I can even click on the material. Let me click on a material, for example, this one. Here we go. And this time you'll be able to see the yield strength versus the temperature and all these subgroups that are inside this diagram. Here we go. And also below the elongation strain also versus the temperature as well. All right. I'm going to go back. There's so much things that I still want to show you, but the time is ticking so fast. There's also a lot of engineers that are inside this webinar that are maybe quality assurances engineers. And I would love to show them our Smart Comp very briefly. Through our Smart Comp, you'll be able to identify those materials through the chemical composition. So you can then enter here, once you get the chemical composition from your spectrometer, you can then enter here, insert here the chemical composition. You can select your base element, you can select the standard, you can select the similarity threshold. However, I'm a lazy person, so I'm going to just import my chemical composition. I hope it works. Here we go. Here's my sample. Here we go. So it automatically imported the chemical composition from a simple Excel sheet. And I want to add a standard as well. For example, the EN standard organization. And now I'm going to press on search. So the database is now looking at all the European Union EN standard organization that has this chemical composition with the similarity threshold of 70%. When I scroll down now, the database has now found 16 materials. 4 of them have a similarity threshold of 100%. A whole bunch of them have a less similarity threshold. And then you can actually click on the material, and then you'll be able to compare the chemical composition of the material with the chemical composition that you've added to the smart comp to compare and analyze if this is the material that you need to identify. Once you press on a material that has a lower similarity threshold, the database will give you a small warning. For example, you can see this nickel in red, and it's between the 3.6 and 4.1, the values. And you've entered into the smart comp 1.6. So this is giving you a small warning telling you, okay, guys, be careful. This nickel content is a little bit high. Just see if this is the one that you want. However, we still have 16 materials. And what we can do now is actually forward these materials to our advanced search. And from our advanced search, you can then again add those properties that you want, maybe some mechanical or physical properties. Maybe let me just be very fast here. This might be a little bit interesting for you, so I'll just add some properties again with some values. Here, make this 45 joule, and maybe some special materials. Here we go, add to search. Press on search, and now instead of having 16 materials, which we got from our smart comp, we now have only, hopefully a little bit less. Hopefully we have some materials. It takes a few seconds. Here we go. Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry about that. I made a mistake. I added the wrong. That's very strange. Wait, here I see what mistake I made. One moment, please. Here, I put the units into wrong. You need to put the units into the right place. So if you want megapascal, you need to choose megapascal. If you want some other units, you need to be very careful which units you chose, because like me, you might get a result of 0 instead of some materials. It's actually a very good example. Here we go, and this is much better. So now we have 4 materials left. These 4 materials, yes, you can again forward to your material list builder and start comparing them through the materials, through the properties, through analytics, whatever you want. I'm not going to show you this again, but this is how it will look like. And then if you want, you can even click on the material. And remember, I wanted to see some CCT and TTT diagrams. Well, here you go. Here you can see some of the CCT and TTT diagrams that we have for this material. A lot of the materials that we have these kind of diagrams with these curves as well. All right, it's 11:15. I'm sorry that we don't have time anymore. Time went really fast. However, just maybe 1 or 2 more slides before we say our goodbyes. So our solution is not only really meant for 1 or 2 types of engineers. Almost the whole organization and company needs somehow, every department needs somehow a type of material information that we can provide. CAE simulation specialists, they need those material properties for their simulation tools, advanced properties and nonlinear data. CAD and manufacturing engineers need to validate their products and process capabilities. Quality need to identify those materials if needed. Purchasing needs to find that equivalent material and also the cheapest material available around the world. Product steward needs to find those compliance information, those regulations, to see if those materials are compliant according to those regulations. And materials engineers, they completely probably did everything that we have, also including corrosion data, tribology data, coatings data, all these different kinds of information that we can provide. All right, so we kind of have packages and actually licenses that literally meet your needs. So it doesn't mean that if you only need metals, that you need to buy the whole solution. We have packages that you can then purchase exactly what your needs are, if you're of course interested in carrying on with our total material solution. Also, we have a few new next steps. So if interested, we can of course provide you with trainings, demonstrations. We can give all the new users also unlimited usage on Total Materia for 2 weeks to explore the database, to check out the data. And also what's very important is everything that you need and you can't find, we will always help you with that. So if there's information missing that you need, a curve that is missing, a property that is missing, a standard that is missing that you need, please just simply contact us and we'll be more than happy to help you with this. And then after the testing and all these trainings that we've given and all the support, you can always decide if you would like to carry on with our solution, yes or no. All right, this is my contact information. Me and my colleagues will be sending you the recording and also the presentation of this of today. If you want to contact us, please do. If you want more information, please do contact me. It's not a problem at all. All right, I'm a little bit over time, 3 minutes over time. I apologize for that. But thank you all for joining this session. The questions that we got, we will of course provide you an email with an answer to that. Don't worry about that. And yeah, hopefully keep in touch. Thank you again, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.